This is something you've all been requesting for a long time. It took a while, but I finally found 3 stories that take place during school lockdowns. It was a typical, boring day in calculus. Friday, 7th period, meaning the week was almost over and spring break was finally upon us. I could tell everyone was getting antsy in their seats. Unlike many of my friends, we didn't have a test that day. Our laid-back teacher decided to play games with us on sporkle.com instead. As we were playing a brand logo quiz, I remember the exact moment it happened. Right after my friend answered a question, Adidas, the dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frantic as he instructed all teachers to go into lockdown, emphasizing that this was not a drill. Chills ran down my spine and goosebumps covered my arms as I saw our usually relaxed teacher rush to turn off the lights and usher us into the back corner of the room. We sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing from a panel in the back of the room ceased, indicating that the school must have cut the power. We exchanged worried glances, realizing that this was serious. After a few more minutes of waiting, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs in the hallway. 2 girls in our class started crying, which heightened our fear. As the screaming grew closer, the man began banging on the lockers, shouting, "I'll kill all of you!" In that moment, I truly feared for my life. Our teacher shushed us as we exchanged terrified looks. The banging shifted to our classroom door, and one of the crying girls screamed, "No!" The pounding intensified as the man yelled, "Open up!" By now, 2 girls were sobbing loudly. It felt like an eternity while he pounded on the door, but eventually he moved on, continuing down the hallway, screaming like a deranged person until we could no longer hear him. About 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour, the dean returned to the loudspeaker to explain the situation, which was surprising for him to do. He informed us that a mentally unstable man had entered the building and assaulted the woman at the front desk, causing her to flee in terror. Staff weren't sure if the man was armed. At that time, the school didn't have security cameras or proper security measures, leaving it vulnerable to such incidents. The staff conducted a sweep of the hallways and classrooms, but couldn't find him. The dean instructed teachers to resume their lessons, while keeping all doors locked and not letting any students leave for any reason. The most disturbing part was that a janitor working the night shift later found the man sleeping in a storage closet near the back of the school. Rumors spread among my peers that a .44 Magnum was sticking out of his pocket. The janitor must have done something to wake him up. Perhaps he left the closet door open, because by the time police arrived, the man was gone. To this day, my entire class has no idea if he was ever found, but I like to think he's receiving the help he needs. My school has 2 lunch periods. The first is for all 6th graders and some 7th graders, while the second is for the remaining 7th graders and all 8th graders. The lockdown occurred in early October on an overcast, rainy day. During the first lunch period, I heard 4 loud booms. I initially thought it was thunder, but the entire lunch crowd erupted in screams. I thought the kids were overreacting, but then campus security rushed in, yelling for everyone to move into the multi-purpose room. Those in line for lunch had to throw away their food and come inside. My friends and I joined a large group of students in the multi-purpose room, which has a huge back wall made of glass. When we were rushed inside, campus security began covering the glass with curtains, and adults were stationed at every exit. My friend Eric, along with the rest of us, was curious and asked one of the adults what was going on. When he returned, he said, "You know those houses right in front of TMS? There's a mentally unstable man barricaded in front of his house, threatening to commit suicide and kill the cops if they try to evict him. He's been watching the kids in a creepy way." To make matters worse, the man was a registered sex offender. We were stuck in the multi-purpose room for a whole hour, missing 2 periods. After the situation was resolved, We were escorted back to our classrooms one by one. I later learned that the man lived next to my friend Brandy, who told me about a previous Halloween when she saw him at his window, cutting his arm and writing in his own blood, "Don't come here or I'll kill you." At the time, people, including Brandy, assumed it was just a Halloween prank. But after this incident, we realized how dangerous he truly was, and we were relieved he never got close to us. Now, at 22 years old and fresh out of college, I recently got a job as a computer intern at my old high school, working in the basement. The basement is messy and disorganized, but there's a small, nice office with 3 big desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat-screen TV, and air conditioning, a luxury the students and teachers lack. I got the job thanks to 3 of my old computer teachers who adored me. I consider them real friends, not just teacher figures. Everything was great until a few weeks ago. My 2 co-workers, Dave and Gary, were upstairs working on papers when I received a phone call from a woman in the front office. She told me the school was on lockdown because someone possibly armed had entered the building. There wasn't much I could do, so I turned off the lights in the office. Surprisingly, as nice as it was, the office didn't have a door, just a large opening, and the basement door didn't even have a working lock. For my safety, I turned off all the lights in the office and my computer screen. I texted both Gary and Dave, but they didn't respond. I sat in the dark for about 20 minutes, playing games on my phone, waiting for the call to resume work. Suddenly, the basement door creaked open. I sat up, wondering if I should call out to Gary or Dave. Someone came running down the stairs, and their footsteps approached my office. I pushed my chair away and crawled under my desk, overwhelmed with fear. Somebody entered the office but didn't turn on the lights. I felt paralyzed with terror, fearing that any sudden noise could be fatal. Just then, my phone dinged with a text message. My heart sank as I clenched my teeth in fear. The footsteps drew closer, and I finally dove out. A man in a red plaid shirt, begging and whoever it was not to grabbed my arm and pulled me up. "Hey, I'm just down here hiding with you. What's going on up there?" he asked. I whispered back, eager for information, but he ignored my question and asked if there was an exit down here. I pointed, saying, "Yeah, around that way." Before he could say anything else, I asked, "Who are you?" There was a brief silence before he explained he was there to pick up his son when a teacher told him to hide. I checked my phone and saw a text from Dave. It read, "Dude, this is crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to read that text aloud when I looked up and felt my stomach drop. The man sensed my suspicion and began to panic. All I could think to do was run upstairs. A gunshot echoed through the basement, and I heard a bullet ricochet off something metallic in the darkness. Miraculously, I escaped unharmed and made it upstairs, where police were waiting at all exits, including the basement. They apprehended the man the moment he opened the door. Fortunately, our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the gunshot. It was later revealed that he and the man had some sort of conflict, but the details were never disclosed. All we knew was that Mr. Buckley hadn't done anything to warrant such a violent reaction. The sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind.